It has been 6 months since many Republicans helped incite an attack on the United States Capitol. It's been 5 months since Republicans refused to impeach or convict Donald Trump for his role in that violence. And it's been 2 months since Republicans rejected the formation of an independent, bipartisan 9/11-style commission to investigate January the 6th. But finally, on Tuesday, a House Select Committee will begin investigating how that armed insurrection came about. It'll be led by Democrats, but feature Republicans too, and not just Liz Cheney.
Will you be appointing more Republicans to the committee like Congressman Adam Kinzinger?
That would be my plan.
Within hours, Pelosi did in fact name Kinzinger to the committee, but frankly, unlike so many here in DC, I care less about the bipartisan composition of the committee and more about what they plan to find out. Because there are, in my mind, 5 main questions that this committee has to get to the bottom of starting Tuesday. Number 1, were Republican members of Congress involved in organizing Stop the Steal rallies, including the big one on January the 6th in Washington, D.C.? I'm not just talking here about those who spoke at such rallies, like Congressman Jim Jordan, who gave a speech at a Stop the Steal rally in Pennsylvania 2 days after the election. I wonder Nancy Pelosi blocked him from joining the committee. No, I want to know if elected Republicans helped organize the big one. Because Ali Alexander, the far-right pro-Trump activist who was behind that rally, has said this.
I was the person who came up with the January 6th idea with Congressman Gosar, Congressman Mo Brooks, and then Congressman Andy Biggs.
Representatives Gosar, Biggs, and Brooks all deny Alexander's claim. But why should we take their word for it? The committee needs to look into this. Number 2, were Republican members of Congress in contact with the insurrectionists before the attack on the Capitol? Remember all the talk of reconnaissance tours being offered to the rioters by certain members of Congress? Democratic House member Steve Cohen said he and another member witnessed former QAnon sympathizer and freshman Congresswoman Lauren Boebert giving such tours in the days before 1/6, something Boebert denies. Although she also thinks it wasn't odd that she was tweeting the speaker's location and movements to the world during the midst of the attack on the Capitol. And look, we know that some House GOP representatives have ties to some of the far-right militias whose members were involved in the attack on the Capitol, like Gosar and the Oath Keepers, or Lauren Boebert and the 3%ers seen here in 2019 during her campaign posing with members from the group. A conservative YouTuber seen on tape breaching the Capitol on January the 6th, later appeared to accompany a group of GOP House members, including Republican Study Committee Chair Jim Banks, to the border. No wonder Nancy Pelosi blocked Banks from being on the Select Committee too. So what the committee needs to investigate is whether there were connections or contacts between specific members of Congress and specific rioters or militia groups on or immediately ahead of January the 6th. We need to know. Number 3, what happened to the DC National Guard on January the 6th? Where on earth were they?
For 3 hours, the head of the D.C. National Guard had to wait to get the authority while we were all watching on TV. These insurrectionists breach the police line, break the glass. The Defense Department still didn't give authority.
Why not? We know that one of the top military guys involved in the conversations around the National Guard that afternoon, and reportedly not keen on involving them, was Lieutenant General Charles Flynn, brother of the pro-martial law, pro-QAnon former National Security Advisor to Donald Trump, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. So, was the Guard blocked from deploying, and if so, by whom? We need to know. Number 4, why were Capitol Police so unprepared for the attack despite numerous warnings in the run-up to January the 6th? The Capitol Police had clearer advance warnings about the January 6th attack, according to a report by their own Inspector General. But officers were instructed by their leaders not to use their most aggressive tactics to hold off the mob. Sorry, what? Congress needs to investigate this. And number 5, perhaps most important of all, what did the president know and when did he know it? When Trump tweeted, "Big protest in D.C. on January the 6th, be there, will be wild," what did he think would happen? What did he want to happen? Since nowadays, he's openly saying stuff like this about the rioters.
Certainly what I wanted is what they wanted.
As ProPublica has reported, the Trump team had been warned the January 6th events could turn chaotic, with tens of thousands of people potentially overwhelming ill-prepared law enforcement officials. Rather than trying to halt the march, Trump and his allies accommodated its leaders. On the day of the attack, why didn't Trump take action? Did he block others from taking action? According to testimony from Republican Congresswoman Jamie Herrera Butler, when House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy rang Trump in the White House around 3:30 p.m. on January the 6th to demand Trump call off his mob, the then president replied, "Well, Kevin, I guess these people are more upset about the election than you are." Now, those are just the 5 main questions on my mind. There are many more unanswered January 6th questions out there. And to be clear, I'm not prejudging. I'm not suggesting I know for sure the answers to all these questions, though, as I've demonstrated tonight, there's plenty of prima facie evidence suggesting a lot of Republicans, including the former president, have a lot to answer for. But look, that's the whole point of having a congressional investigation, to get to the facts, to get to the truth, and hopefully to get justice for the people who died.